Cleanse the palate. Today we are drinking some fallen leaf chai. It's delicious. Best chai in the business. Fallen leaf at the checkout for all your discount dreams. Today we're going to be speaking about a few topics that I've been delving into recently and using myself as a case study. I think we'll start off with feminine and masculine polarities. Actually, before we take it away, let's have a deep breath, a full belly breath. Ooh. One more. I like having those breaths and having a bit of space on the exhale as well. You thought you signed up for a potty, but you signed up for breath work. Anyway, yeah. So basically, feminine and masculine polarities exist within all of us. We are made up of two energies. It's something that you can notice quite obviously if a woman is deep in her feminine and if a man is deep in his masculine, but a lot of the time women live harder in their masculine and men live harder in their feminine. The best case scenario, in my opinion, is to have a woman who's more deeply fledged in her feminine but has access to her masculine, and the same the other way around, because in the end we complement each other really well when we're sitting in the polarity that is more natural to us. Yeah, so as I was saying, we both embody a combination of the two, and depending on where you're at in your life or what you're doing, what your focuses are, where you are emotionally, it's like you can kind of activate one or the other, and sometimes it just happens as it does on its own, but you can consciously dip into whichever one you want to, and I've been really enjoying doing that as well. Like, the feminine is more typically like intuitive, flowy, receiving, emotional, nurturing, and it's quite an attractive energy, I find. It's quite healing, if you will. Whereas masculine energy is more like the getting it done, forthright, communicative, straight to the point, just sure. It's quite a tight energy. I really like a healthy masculine. Both polarities, when working in unison, can just create so much magic. Like, they flow super well together, but they also can get quite out of balance because life is happening. There's a lot going on. There's stresses, there's communication styles, there's just a lot to handle. There's a big rise in chickies being more in their masculine because they're kind of on that notion where it's like, I don't really ask for anything, I'm fine as I am, I don't need help. And that's when you fall typically into the masculine, which is like, I don't need anyone, I can kind of do it on my own. Whereas the healthy feminine is kind of like where you want to be in like relationships. If a man is in his, I don't want to like look at men and be like, you need to always be in your healthy masculine for us sort of thing, so then we can be healthy and stuff. But it is typically, if a man is in his healthy masculine, it motivates a woman to be in her healthy feminine. And I guess I'm assuming the same for the other way around. Again, it's personal preference. Like, there's probably guys that really enjoy a masculine energy, but from my people studies, I've noticed that guys prefer, if they're heavy in their masculine, prefer a feminine woman. Because it can be quite emasculating as well, having a chick that kind of doesn't really need anyone or anything. Guys, again, are built to provide and to give and to be that safety for women. It's important for everyone to kind of just be harnessing those energies. I feel like I live quite freely, quite intuitively, probably more in my feminine, but I do dip into the masculine when I'm like, all right, we got to get some shit done, we got to get it done quickly, I've got to be like bang bang bang. Whereas I take like my weekends for flow and have these like dedicated intuition days where I'm just like, I don't know what I need, what I want, so I'm just going to do one thing after the other and flow into this and just see what feels good. We are heading into an era where guys are re-embodying that like strong masculine energy, which is pretty fucking lit. I think for a while it was really about like toxic masculinity and everyone was like, boo. But now there's this movement that I'm noticing with guys just being more like strong and vigorous and all the things. So I reckon that's hot shit. I can't stress this enough. It is important to be tuning into your both of the energies and seeing which one is more fit for whatever occasion. So each polarity handles conflict differently. You probably would have noticed how women, when they're going through things, they go to the girls, they have a chat, they want to just like mull everything over and get advice, get opinions and stuff, whereas men go in. They go in to find their answers, they stew, they just ponder, and then they come back with an answer. It's an interesting thing. It's actually quite an interesting thing on a scientific level. It's a full-blown hormonal thing, so it's not just like guys are avoiding this and chicks just want to fucking talk about everything. Our bodies genuinely need different hormones to process stress depending on your sex. So it's quite an interesting study in my opinion. So for men, testosterone is their stress hormone, and for women it's estrogen. Chicks need more estrogen to manage stress. The communication between people creates estrogen for women. So it's funny how like the natural flow of events causes men to go in, and the going in creates testosterone, and the natural flow of events causes women to kind of go out, want to mull things over, want to just like bounce around. And like I've been trying to have a bit more of a masculine approach to my conflict resolution recently, like trying to simplify things a little bit more instead of stewing, going around in circles, getting opinions from Suzanne and Beryl. Like I've been trying to just be a little bit more masculine in my approach, and I've been actually enjoying it a lot more because you get to the point, you get to your answer a lot quicker without outside opinions. Because it's that thing I'm always saying about, you ask people for their opinions on the topic and they don't really have much background. It's your experience. You have the answers within you. So I do, and I will continue to go to my ladies and my women in my community for help and things like that. But I do think there's something to be said for the way guys approach conflict and the way they go in to find their answers. They stew, they macerate, if you will, and then they come back out and it makes sense within themselves, and then they can share what they've found within themselves. But yeah, different activities generate different hormonal outputs. So nature's feminine, drinking alcohol's feminine, seeing live music's feminine. So it's an interesting thing noticing that guys opt for that as well. And yeah, another thing is like you see guys really like sports generally a lot of the time. Competition creates testosterone, whereas collaboration creates estrogen. So again, it's like on a scientific spectrum, it's all back. So it's quite funny to notice that guys like gather together and they watch these sports and they get so fired up and they're connecting like that, and they're in their feminine. Like that's bringing up like a feminine aspect to life, and they don't even know, I don't think, but maybe they do. Yeah, so it's pretty rad. The natural flow of events is that guys go in, women go out, and then we come back together and we resolve. When each party is operating from their unique polarity, there is generally way more room for passion, connection, understanding, and all things healthy. These distinctions show how different both sexes naturally are, but when both parties are fully expressed, it's a recipe for magic. To bring more empathy into the situation, I thought I'd talk a little bit about how I think often when guys go in and they take that space, women can feel a bit rejected or abandoned or whatever it is. But if you can see it for what it is, it's actually quite a beautiful thing. Instead of reacting, they take space, they go in, they face the thing head on, and it's unhindered. It's just a nice, strong, firm approach that I love. So if you can separate that and as a woman not take that on board, I think it's really cool and it'll make you all stronger. And I'm not sure really how guys feel, but from my research, I read that a lot of the time guys think that women are just kind of going behind their backs and slandering them and just going around in circles. And it's really not about that. It's more about just like women just like need to just talk it out and get it out there. And even if it doesn't really make any sense, it's like a very cathartic thing to just like talk and release. And I think it's good to not do that with your partner sometimes and to just do it with the girls or do it with a cycle, whatever it may be. But yeah, if men and women were the same and we process the same, it wouldn't be that interesting. So I think it's cool that we polarize each other in that manner. And like, yeah, when we're both balanced, we're able to be a bit more discerning and to not take things personally and to just see things as they are. But if it's out of balance, it's never the best. So I recommend time to reconnect into your dominating polarity, or the polarity that you want to sit in, to rebalance out your relationship as well. I'll talk a little bit about harnessing your feminine, because it's important for both women and men to tap into that, because we all need to be reconnecting back into nature and intuition, and if you're in touch with that stuff, it just means that the answers come to you quicker, that you're a clearer channel for all the magic that wants to come through you. So feminine is all about receiving and giving back to self. It's all about flow. It's all about slowing down, grounding, balancing, nurturing, and moving the bod. And getting into the masculine is more risk-taking, assertiveness, and confidence. So you can do your own kind of research about that, or you can sort of look at your life and just see where you're harnessing which one. Again, me, I guess my life is very free and I get to flow quite a bit. But yeah, sometimes I need to be in the more assertive decision making, get it done mood. So I hop into that when I can. But if you're on that train too much and chugging along, getting it done, keeping busy, just you can burn yourself out. So I would highly recommend making time to flow back into the feminine, because it's quite soft and light and fluffy and sweet, the feminine, and a lot of magic comes when you're sitting in a healthy feminine. Yeah, I feel like that was kind of like polarities for dummies. I'm not really sure if that cleared anything up for you guys, but yeah, as just like a fun thing, I would recommend just kind of looking at your own life and seeing where you harness what, where you could harness which, and getting a little bit creative with them, because it's fun as well. I've been actively trying to be more in my feminine because I like it. It feels really, really good, and you attract a lot of magic in your feminine. So all the chickies out there, I really I implore that you tap into it a little bit more. And guys, step into that masculine. It's hot shit. Like, we can notice it. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about loneliness, because this is one I've been having some really cool revelations about recently. It's one that I've tried to write about a lot in the old journal, but haven't been able to quantify the feelings that I feel. And it's also personal. Everyone's journeys with loneliness. Last time I felt loneliness was last week, and I decided for once that I was just going to properly look at it, sit in the feeling, see where it was coming up, like see if it was a sensation, see if like an old childhood memory came up when I was tuning into it, and just basically decided to take a little bit of a backseat to it, just to see if any clarity would come up and if I could transform it into something new, or turn it into a piece of art, or share something that could possibly help other people. I think it's important to find your healthy balance between separateness and connection, because they live symbiotically. Like, we need connection to other people, but we also really desperately need connection to ourselves. When I was dipping into this topic last week, I wanted to just like find some solutions and see if I could come out with some things that could help me and my journey forward, and hopefully help others in their journey forward. I think the first step is realizing that it's okay to crave connection. Like, it is a basic human core need. It's not a want. It's like an actual need. Just like we need shelter and water and all that, we need connection. So once you realize that, like, just give yourself like a little moment. Because if you're feeling lonely right now, or you're feeling, you can be extremely well surrounded. You can have connection, you can have community, you can have family and a partner and all that, but you can still feel lonely. You can be in huge groups and still feel small. You can feel unheard, or to the core, loneliness can be plenty of things. It can be an unmet childhood need. It can be lack of connection to self. I find a lot of the time that if I'm experiencing loneliness, I can sit down, look at myself and be like, all right, what is this that you need right now? Be a little bit objective about it and take a bit of a backseat and be like, all right, is this something, am I feeling like a pain in my chest or a pain in my heart? Or is it my head that's kind of going off? Is it chatter? Is it my ego? Or is it something from a long time ago, an unmet childhood need where I didn't feel heard? Or, you know, if you could make it like a bit of a fun thing, you don't always have to be problem solving, but you know, if you can look at it in a way that's like that, I think you can really find some answers within yourself. Years and years ago, I was working in a cafe and I'd just started dating this guy and we were very in love, and I was going through a bit of a period where I wasn't really feeling the love from him, and I hadn't said anything to him, and I was talking to a girlfriend about it and she was like, what are your love scores like for yourself? And I was like, shit, they're pretty low. Like, I remember just looking at myself and being like, oh. And then she just said to me, all starts at yourself. And that just changed everything for me. Now every time I feel like somebody's not meeting a need of mine, it's like, bang, turn the mirror on myself. Where can I meet this need? Where can I be a little bit softer? Where can I be a little bit more giving? Like, where do I need more nurturing? Because a lot of the time it starts at the self. It's not about anyone else. So yeah, I think that's a really cool one, a really cool tip to bring into your life just in general when you're feeling any sort of feeling of lack. And another one is, this is very corny stuff and stuff that you would have heard a lot before, but gratitude is a big one. And for me, it's been quite mechanical in the past couple of weeks. I've been trying to really just, you know, start my day with the gratitude, end it with the gratitude. And at the start I was like, oh, this just feels so silly. But now it's, you know, you find a lot more things to be grateful for. It's, you know, it's hot tea. It's just like a friendly chat at the cafe. It's whatever it is. Like, there is so much to be grateful for. So I know I was talking about loneliness and now I'm talking about gratitude, but it is about seeing things as they are. It's like, if you feel like your basket isn't being filled up by your friends, like, hey, maybe it's time to reevaluate. Maybe it's time to sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and be like, dear universe, I'm ready for some new connection. I want to be mentally stimulated. I want laughter. I'm ready for it. Like, you know, ask for it, because if you don't ask for it, you probably won't get it. So, yeah, I think connection can come from anywhere. You can get it from yourself. You can get it out in nature. So I think when you're experiencing that like deep loneliness, whether it's a sensation in your heart or, you know, a deep unmet core need, I think it's a really good time to be very intentional with what you're going to do next. And I will always recommend just having a day to self, to just flow with whatever comes up and spend time with those emotions as they flow through you, because those feelings of lack don't have to come up forever. The more time you spend with them, the smaller they get, the smaller the space they take up is. You know, it can go the other way. If you let it become such a big thing, you can fall into like despair and isolation and segregating yourself even more. So try to not let it get to that, because again, you've got full power over it. If you want connection, you can find it. Again, self, nature, friends, family. Build a community. If you can't find it, make something. Make a book club, you know, have a conversation club, go to a yoga class, start taking up archery, make a business, volunteer. Like, anything can bring about connection. It's like you've got a relationship with everything. So, you know, you got to kind of take a bit of accountability for it too. I know I'm a bit of a hard ass with this stuff, but I just think like wallowing just doesn't really get you far. Sitting in despair doesn't get you far. Pessimism doesn't get you far. You know, there comes a time when you gotta kind of take the reins of your own life and make little shifts and see what you can do to just lighten it all up. It's okay that you feel what you feel, but try and suss out where it comes from. Try and suss out if you can, you know, lighten it up a little bit, and talk about the loneliness as well, because we all experience it. Just be a little bit more objective about it. Don't run away from it by making yourself super busy and just like always just like on the go, because that'll blow up in your face. It always does. It's a really common theme in this day and age. You know, people just go, 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 and then they get ADHD, and then they're like identifying with the whole thing. It's like, slow down and see what comes up. Close your eyes, sit down, take 10 deep breaths and see what flows through you. But yeah, it's a funny one to talk about loneliness because I'm consistently going on mini trips alone and things like that. But they're always really intentional trips. Like a lot of the time those trips take place when I'm experiencing a bout of like proper loneliness and feeling disconnected from other people. And it's always a bid to connect harder to myself. I know it's necessary. I really recommend taking time for self a lot of the time, forever. Another thing I've really been frothing out on lately is mixing up my words and my questions and my conversation and just trying to be a bit more curious. I'm a curious person anyway, but I've just been consciously using different words and sparking out that curiosity a bit more, because it's like, you know, how many times a week do you go to the coffee shop? Hey, how are you? What are you doing today? It's just like, you know, it gets really monotonous to me and it makes me not want to go to the coffee shop at all. So I've been doing that, cultivating different kind of questions, and it's made the conversation so much more interesting. The cool part about that is you never know what's going to come from having a good quality conversation. Like, so much opportunity can come from mixing it up, from like straying away from the grain and asking somebody what they're inspired by at the moment, or if they're working on something, or something that they want to do that they're not doing, or, you know, a long-term goal. Or it's funny, every time something like that comes into my awareness, I feel like the universe goes, hello, here's a gift. And yesterday I was at the market and I was buying these little babies. God, they're magic. And the guy was just asking me all these phenomenal freaking questions, and we were just bouncing around all these really cool ideas. And then he started like reciting this poem. It just like smacked me in the heart, and it wasn't cringe. And yeah, there was just so much purity and sincerity to what he was saying. When I left his stall, I was just still thinking about, and it just got me thinking, like, you know, you mix up your questions, you mix up your relationships, you just make shit more exciting. Instead of buying into the same old narrative, you get to make a new one and mix it up, bring a bit of a different kind of air into the chats. So yeah, that's my hot tip of the week. Let's mix up our conversation skills, use different words, show more curiosity, and see what happens. But yes, my book of the week is Mating in Captivity by Esther Perel. Very interesting stuff. About infidelity. I recommend that book. Also really recommend anything by David Dieter. I've been absolutely fizzing out on his stuff lately. But yeah, that's the extent of that, darlings. It was a bit of an express episode. Didn't really get too far, but who wants to see a photo of my truck that I drew while I was on mushrooms the other day? Picasso. Anyway, thanks for being here. Big love.